Hello everyone, I am Dr. Janvi Sheikh Mopidevi. In this presentation, I am going to focus on why and how transformative curricula underpinned by relational pedagogy can and should serve as a conceptual basis of education for sustainable development. For this, I am going to draw from my PhD research that has explored educators' roles in fostering children's relations based on two different curricula contexts of India and England. One is a top down, centralized, outcome driven instrumental curricula based on positivist behaviorist theories and framed within the neoliberal policy context of accountability and control in England, with one of its main purpose being preparing future workers who can contribute effectively to the economy. While the other one is an alternative, localized, emergent, socio-cultural curricula based on the revolutionary philosophy of G.D. Krishnamurti, which is radically different from, and in fact, a revolutionary response to the mainstream curricula in India, which is unfortunately a conflicting set of post-colonial legacies and neoliberal ideologies. For the focus of my presentation and given the limited time frame, I'm not going to details of my research study per se, but only going to focus on its broader findings, that is, the significance of transformative curricula and relational pedagogy in heralding a sustainable and democratic world. We live in a crisis-ridden world, exhorts G.D. Krishnamurti in his treatise Education and Significance of Life. And never before the word crisis sounded more frightened with fear and terror than it is today. And it's not just about a tiny, weeny, invisible corona virus that has effectively nosedived the economies, kneeled down the societies, and essentially passed the unstoppable human race to an abrupt halt, including this conference, which made us seek alternative ways via online platforms. But this is not just about unfathomable and uncontrollable corona. Uncontrollable, yes, because at least until we find a cure. And the fact that we cannot breathe. And it's not just in USA where the treacherous fault lines in our shared humanity are ripped open along the lines of racial contract to the point that people, for the fault of having a different skin color, cannot breathe or not allowed to breathe by the ideologies that claim racial superiority and supremacy. In Brazil, its democratically elected leaders are acting unscrupulous, fanning neoliberal fires across the Amazon rainforest. Amazon, the indispensable lungs of the world, suffocating not just its native tribal populations, who have lived there sustainably for centuries, but the rest of the world, with disastrous environmental consequences for the survival of the planet itself, to the point that it cannot breathe. As we speak, fires are burning and protests are spreading across Hong Kong to fight for its democratic soul and identity and autonomy from the competing and conflicting ideological forces with powerful vested interests. Hong Kong, for sure, needs some breathing space. So are the people of Kashmir, who have been sandwiched and suffocated between political idiosyncrasies of two powerful neighbors, India and Pakistan, who neither respect them nor leave them in peace. And they are now have been living in open air prisons with no access to internet nor to human rights in heavily militarized zones. They need space from tyranny and a semblance of democracy in order to breathe in the air of freedom. And the list goes on, not to mention the pre-existing ailments of the pre-coronal world, with its fair share of poverty, hunger, unemployment, consumerism, wars, conflicts, occupations, majoritarian nationalism, minority persecution, populist authoritarianism, neoliberal ascendancy, and the rollback of welfare state, coupled with severe surveillance and conformist mechanisms that impact, dictate, and control every aspect of human life and mind, or whatever is left of it. John Stuart Mill contends, individuals are sovereigns over their body and mind. But what are we even dreaming? We simply cannot breathe. These unprecedented individual, collective, and global challenges that the humanity is facing at various levels of existence across the world to a large extent shows the colossal failure of neoliberal market-driven economic and education policies that narrowly focus on preparing future workers who can contribute to the economy at the expense of ignoring and neglecting larger questions and aspects of human life. At another level, it also shows the debilitating impact of ill-conceived education that concerns itself with 3 R's of learning, that is literacy, numeracy, and arithmetic, but ignores cultivation of the human mind and soul, resulting in highly educated people to be indiscriminate consumers, most developed countries with highest carbon footprints, inequitable economies sustaining a bunch of billionaires, unequal societies that are still grappling with issues of discrimination and violence based on class, caste, language, identity, gender, sexual orientation, religion, and race. Race. Let's not even go there. It is treacherously suffocating to the extent that some of us cannot simply breathe or are allowed to breathe. Given the scale of crisis and the kind of challenges that the humanity is facing, it is pretty clear that it's not going to be business as usual, where we can revert back to our utopian existence of being normal, especially after this global pandemic, which has essentially brought the letter and spirit of crisis to each and every doorstep. Thanks to coronavirus and its role in being what Malcolm Gladwell terms as a tipping point, we have truly arrived to a point of no return and to what Jiddu Krishnamurti postulates as a crisis in our conscience at both individual and collective levels, with enforced lockdowns forcing us to stop, reflect, and look within. Because fundamentally, that's where the problem lies, and so is the potential for solution, where not just the privileged few, but everyone can get to live and breathe. Given the magnitude of challenges that the humanity is facing, be it social, economical, cultural, and environmental, the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development calls for the urgent need to develop holistic and integrated responses to various social, economic, and environmental challenges we all individually and collectively face. One tiny corona and millions have lost their jobs, leading to unprecedented levels of mass unemployment and suffering in human history. Clearly, the narrow focus on competitive individualism and just preparing for exams and careers is not enough. Coincidentally, the UNESCO's Global Monitoring Report 2016 implores us to fundamentally change the way we think about education and its role in human well-being and global development, highlighting that education has a huge responsibility to foster the right type of skills, values, attitudes, and behaviors that are required for inclusive and sustainable growth and development. We need a paradigm shift to survive and thrive in this post-corona world, and we need it now. However, the concern still remains. How can we ensure that paradigm shift? How can we fundamentally change the way we, educators, policymakers, politicians, development organizations, parents, funders, students, and essentially all the societies think about education and ensure that the change of course is reflected in both policy and the practice? Can education really bring out inclusive and sustainable development when its policies and practices still narrowly concern with grade point averages and inspection systems that strive to bring about all the students to a same standard of perfection, as if they are some industrial outputs in the factories of mass and mindless production? And what is the role of teachers here? Are they mere technical workers in the new managerial systems with covert agendas of stifling creativity and instilling conformity? Or can they be what Paulo Freire postulates as conscientious intellectuals with progressive agendas of democracy and social justice? Are schools still going to carry on with their industrial legacies and be degree manufacturing factories where millions and millions of young minds compete with each other every day in fear and in competition and constantly measure their self-esteem in grade points and league tables? Or can schools be the carefully cultivated garden centers that strive for what J.K. calls as flowering of human goodness and human intelligence, with well-meaning relations with others, including the community, the nature, and the wider cosmos? If education can only and narrowly concern itself with exams and jobs, are they even relevant here in this post-inflicted world? In this corona-inflicted world with colossal loss of lives and livelihoods. In essence, my argument here is that without proactively and fundamentally incorporating integrated policies and practices that have at heart the inclusive and democratic sustainable ethos as everyday practice, we can only resort to peaceful approaches. Education policies and everyday practices should recognize and reflect the inherent mutuality and interconnectedness of individuals to priorities relational, critical, and eco pedagogies that go beyond narrow focus on individuals to wider community, to wider society, and to the whole ecosystem that we are all intrinsically tied up together. Indian philosophers G.D. Krishnamurti and Rabindranath Tagore and Western philosophers Froebel and Steiner have established alternative schools based on transformative philosophies that foster cooperation and democratic living in an atmosphere of freedom away from external controls and extrinsic rewards. Their aim is to provide joyful, relational, and holistic education that cultivates integrated and universal human beings who, in turn, usher in a more humanistic and sustainable world, and that is a goal well worth pursuing. I conclude my presentation by quoting inspiring remarks from Irina Bokova, General Director of UNESCO, in the foreword for Education for People and Planet, Creating Sustainable Futures for All, 2016. If done right, education has the power like none else to nurture empowered, reflective, engaged, and skilled citizens who can chart the way towards a safer, greener, and fairer planet for all. Safer, greener, and fairer planet for all, where everyone can get not just to breathe but survive and thrive. Thank you.